I know many of you know that I don't necessarily love living in Japan. You can watch my previous videos to find out the several reasons why I don't love. But I don't hate the country. I don't think it's the worst country to live in because it's safe, healthcare system is good, living cost is affordable, and it's clean. But I could do without the frequent earthquakes and extremely muggy summers. However, I do hate the people and culture, so I'm gonna give my honest impression of Japanese culture and Japanese people today. Disclaimer, this is going to be my subjective impression, so this doesn't apply to everyone in Japan. So I'm just talking about people in general after living in this country for 26 years. First of all, in general, I don't really like how people dress, how they look, how they talk, how they're really conservative of everything, so on. This is going to be extremely big one. Facial expressions is really poor. Okay? People don't express themselves facially. They wear masks. Even the COVID season is over, you would see like many people wearing masks. It's not like they're allergic to those pollens. I mean, some people might be, but if you ask like especially like women wearing masks, guess what they say? Why they're wearing masks? Because they're insecure about their faces. Okay, during COVID, we have a shutdown, we have quarantine. Everyone was like kind of forced to wear masks, right? So some of them just start working in a company during the COVID season, and they were wearing masks all the time. And now, COVID is over, you can actually take off the masks. But what they do is they keep their own masks because they don't want the other people or the colleagues who only know their faces with the masks on be seen. They don't want to show their face because they're so afraid, they're so insecure about their faces. I'm like, who cares about your freaking face? Nobody cares about your freaking face. And this story gets crazier. I was reading a book about addiction in a convenience store because I found a book about addiction. I was interested, and as I was reading, that's Japanese, by the way. I saw a section that addiction to wearing masks. I mean, have you heard of addiction to wearing masks? I that was my first time that I had my eyes on the words masks. Addiction to masks. You might have zero luck finding someone who's addicted to wearing masks, probably in the US or the UK or Europe, but you probably find many people who are addicted to wearing masks because they want to share, because they want to cover up their faces, because they're so insecure about their faces. I'm like, just nobody gives a S about your face, what you look like. Going back to facial expression, eye contact. Okay, I'm making eye contact with you. I'm supposed to make an eye contact with you when I'm talking to you, but in Japan, that's not really the case. It's really common for people not to make eye contact with you when talking to you. For example, if you're cashing out, if you're buying grocery and you're dealing with a cashier, right? At the till, you're buying those grocery. They're usually not gonna make eye contact with you. They don't even treat you as a human being, right? If you talk to like service people at the reception, they don't even look up to you like this, and they okay, your room is like upstairs or something. They just keep glancing down at the desk, and they just don't say okay, room 102 or something, you know, without even looking up to you. It's like that's okay, some people make eye contact, yes, but like I've experienced like not being paid attention to or not being treated as a human being because they don't make eye contact with me. I take dance lessons, okay? And I missed the class, so I could do the substitute lesson with another dance teacher. So I went to a dance lesson in a different location with a different teacher. First time meeting her, she didn't even look up. I said, okay, I am Taiki, who is participating in the dance class today. I was introducing myself, like trying to look at her in the eyes. She didn't even look. Okay, imagine you are me and I am her, right? She's like, okay, nice to meet you. They don't even, she didn't even look me in the eyes, like the whole time. She didn't even freaking smile. And like that's heartbreaking for most people, I think. Also, if you're like a calm person or like down to earth communication is seen as, I don't know, boring. I mean, in English, it's common to be calm, right? It's common to be, okay, so this is what I want to do, and I want to do this. So like, are you in, or something? I don't know. Whenever you talk, it's kind of more like down to earth, right? But in Japanese culture, you kind of have to be really excited or something. It's like, oh my god, that's so cool. Like, oh my god, sugoi, or something, like this. And I don't do that. If you don't do it, you're seen as like a cold person. I'm like, that's so freaking shallow. This is my subjective experience. I know there are people who are down to earth communicating and more accepting those forms of communication, but my sister literally told me that when I speak Japanese or when I speak English, obviously when I speak English, she told me that I was like a foreigner, but even when I speak Japanese, she told me like I was speaking English. She told me that I sound like I'm speaking English. I'm like, oh, what does that mean? But she was like, oh, because you're speaking like in a down to earth way, like really calmly. I'm like, I don't know how to speak in any other way, because I'm a down to earth person. What are you talking about? Do I have to fake my personality when I speak? So yeah. And I heard people saying non-Japanese people seem really scary because the way they talk is like calm, so some people find me scary too, because a lot of people tell me that I talk like a Westerner, even in Japanese. So I just don't like not being able to be myself when I talk. Thank you very much. Also, as I was reading Daring Greatly by Brené Brown, which I highly recommend, she talks about shame in that book. Now, shame she defines as a intense painful feeling that stems from when we think that we are flawed, therefore unworthy of love or belonging. It's like saying when you make a mistake, you're worthless or bad, and you feel that feeling and you define it as a shame. In that book, she shares a story about sending an aggressive message to someone, and she was filled with shame. And she shares her feelings with her husband and friend, and they're both compassionate to her. And when I think about it, very few people in Japan would actually be compassionate. Probably that's an Asian thing. Because we have a culture to shame people, attack people when they make a mistake. Even when they admit that they made a mistake and simply being vulnerable. It's rare to see people being compassionate to anyone in general in Japan. Now that I think about it, I only shared my shame stories or mistakes with non-Japanese friends because I didn't want to be blamed or judged by the Japanese people. That's a shame. Pardon me for talking about the culture and the people overlapping each other, but I think these things go together usually. So I've talked about my culture and the people in my country, and please feel free to share your stories in the comment section below. But I have one more thing to talk about. It's the tattoo culture. I know you would be very surprised by how much Japan hates the tattoos. If you have tattoos, you wouldn't be able to go to hot springs. Most places don't allow people with tattoos, and the sports gyms and swimming pools. Okay, understandable reason is because is that the yakuzas would be in those places, right? If you allow the tattoos, right? It's not like people with tattoos are thought as yakuzas, but it's because the yakuza would use those hot springs and sports gyms, and that would scare people away, and that would therefore decrease the income of those facilities. That's understandable, but I had a student, right, from Australia, okay, and he lives in Japan now, and he wanted to have a membership of a sports gym, right? And receptionist saw like a tiny bit of a, because he was wearing a tank top at that time. So the receptionist saw the tattoo on his shoulder, like a really small one, which was totally coverable, right? And he refused, right? He refused. He couldn't let the Australian student in because of the tattoo. Okay, but the Australian friend, that's my mate, said, okay, I'll cover it up. Okay, that's fine. If I cover it up, like I patch it up, that'll be fine, right? But the receptionist still refused. It's like I saw the tattoo, so I can't. I mean, if you could cover it up, it would, everyone would think that's just an injury, right, or something. And if you could cover it, I don't think that would be a problem because nobody would know that's a tattoo. So that kind of kills the purpose. It's understandable if you allow the tattooed people who cannot cover themselves, because yakuza usually have like lots of tattoos like all over their bodies. Yeah, that if you prohibit those people from going to those gyms, that's understandable, yes, because then otherwise that would attract yakuzas. But if that's coverable, I don't see a problem of letting him join. And the receptionist, to me, it doesn't really make sense, because that's not going to be a problem. It's not like the sports gym is letting everyone with tattoos in. It's like, okay, I saw the tattoo, now you cannot. I mean, he could have made some suggestions. Okay, if you cover it up, it's fine. But it's like, it seemed like his aversion to tattoos in general. The Australian student isn't obviously a yakuza, right? Everyone knows that. But seems like the receptionist just assumed that the Australian mate is like a bad person or yakuza or something. It's not true. It's just a normal thing for Western culture, Western people to do, to have tattoos. So he was resented. Yeah, I felt resentful too, although it didn't happen to me. But I just thought that was so inflexible of him to say such things, deny his entry, just because he had a small tattoo which he could clearly cover it up. You know what I mean? Am I the only one who's like really upset because of this? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you live in Japan, you might felt these things that I've mentioned in this video. If you're living outside of Japan, these are the honest impression of this country and the culture and the people. That's mainly culture and people. These are so annoying for me. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, if you don't want to miss out my content, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification so you won't miss anything. If you want to learn Japanese language, despite all the shortcomings that I've talked about in my videos, you can watch my previous videos on Japanese language, or you can get a copy of this, not a Japanese textbook. This is not a Japanese textbook. I've written this book. This teaches you an amusing, entertaining way to learn a language. It's not limited to Japanese language, but any language you can learn. And my policy is that learning language is supposed to be a fun thing. It's not supposed to be like a very demanding thing, okay? It's like playing the piano, learning to play the piano. That's my idea, okay? So this teaches you a very simple things that you can apply to your learning journey. This is really a short book, so it's not going to be a daunting, long book. So you can have a copy. I have a link to that book in the description below. You can check that out. I also have a Kindle version, so you can get a Kindle one if you like. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.